Welcome back, viewers. So we are working on the Cummins truck. I've got to get this turbine housing off of here, and then I have to reassemble and hook up the new turbo that actually is the old turbo that came off of the Jeep. So what we're going to do is, at the moment, I'm going to warranty out this battery that I bought last summer because it's so dead that my little maintainer here sat on it for 2 days and it never even charged because there's not enough juice in the battery for it to start charging. And my monster jump box here that cranks out enough amperage to start a semi, it wouldn't do anything because it wasn't seeing any kind of voltage. So it's one of those smart jump boxes. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and warranty this battery out because it's cooked. Once that's done, I get to build a hose to go from here on the oil filter housing to the top of the turbo. I already have all the fittings and the hose and everything for that, so we're gonna get that built, and then this thing should be ready to rock. I'm hoping we don't run into any more hiccups. We're gonna get this warrantied out, and then hopefully once that oil line's built and the turbo's on, this thing should fire right up. I think we have an issue with it losing fuel prime because it takes a while to actually start. You got to crank it for a second after it sits for a minute. So I don't know, we'll see, but I'm sure it's probably an easy fix. It might be just something as simple as the return on the back of the head leaking or something, but it better not be anything expensive because Tyler broke. But speaking of Tyler broke, we got mowers to build. We got this thing here, that's not ideal, and the four-wheeler over there. We're going to be taking the front suspension off it and sticking it on here, and I got to figure out how to make all that work. The shock is going to be the biggest challenge because it doesn't have an upper control arm, it just has a lower control arm. So I can mount the lower control arm, I'm not sweating that, but I've got to figure out, once I mount the lower control arm, how are we going to mount the shock, because the shock will be like up here. So we'll figure something out. I might do an upper control arm and then do some kind of knuckle setup, I'm not sure, but for now we got to get the deck off this thing, and then I got to fix the case where it's leaking because it's leaking all down. There's oil all down on the bottom, and it's leaking all down the side here, mainly on this side. You can see how wet it is. So once we get the oil leak fixed, this thing's ready to go. But for now, I'm gonna go get this battery warrantied out, and then hopefully we can get that oil line made and get the turbo on this thing, and we should be good to go. We don't have a ton of room, so I'm gonna take this and shorten it. I would like to just blank it off completely, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. I don't know, we might be able to, but it's a twin scroll turbo, and as you can see, they hole sawed into it and put the wastegate flange here. So I gotta cut that down. Once that's cut down, I can blank it off, and then we can reassemble this turbo and then put it on the Dodge. We managed to cut the little piece off. I decided to just take it down flat. I was gonna cut it and leave some length on it so I could put a cap on it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get a piece of metal and kind of hammer it until it forms to the curve here, and then I guess we'll just weld it up, and then we'll have a turbo for the Dodge once I get it all put back together. It's not the most beautiful thing I've ever created, but it is done. So here's the blank that I made out of just a piece of exhaust tubing that I cut into pretty much a third, and then I hammered it flat, and now I've TIG welded it to where the wastegate used to be. So this should work. We've got to get everything clocked. I still have to figure out a gasket for the turbo drain, and that's that funky O-ring thing. I know there's an upgrade for these, but this thing works fine, so I'm going to leave it alone. And it's got pretty decent looking O-rings on it. So we're going to go ahead and get this all clocked and mounted on the truck, and then I'll build the feed line and hook up the charge piping and the downpipe, and we should be good. That's pretty much it. So we're getting there. So the threads on one of those studs back there was a little rough, so I threw a little WD-39 on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this on here, and then we're gonna get this front bolt in it. That way we know what direction everything needs to point. Of course I dropped the gasket. Okay, that's on there. Perfect. Okay, and I think I'm going to have a guy here local to me take a look at the tune, because I want to make sure that the fueling or the timing's not way off on it. And I'm gonna have it turned down, because with it turned up it made like 850 at the wheels, and I just don't want to put that much stress on this transmission and everything else. So we're gonna turn it down to probably 600 or 700 horse. With it turned all the way up, I have a chip in there I can turn it up and down. So with the switch all the way up, 700 should be pretty conservative. The block and the parts in it should hold 1100, but the clutch is only rated for, oh gosh, probably like 1500 foot-pounds, which is about what it made on 850. So I don't want to have to keep buying clutches and everything else. And this transmission being a G56, if I start making a ton more power, I'm gonna have to go to like an NV5600 or something. So we're just gonna leave it the way it is, the clutch and the trans, and then we'll go ahead and turn the fueling down and probably pull some timing out of it and just tame it down overall throughout the tune, and see if we can keep things alive and together. All right, another couple hours, it won't be too bad, but at the moment the sun is beaming me, but it's going that way, so hopefully it won't be too terribly long. I'll be in the shade again, and then it'll be dark. Okay, so we have a piece of cardboard. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this roughly to size, and then we'll be marking it out, figuring out exactly where to put our holes and all that good stuff. Yep, that'll work. Okay. Okay, so we have very little left to do to get the Dodge roadworthy. I'm gonna go ahead and build an AN line for the turbo feed, and then that's it. We got the downpipe on, we got the charge pipe connected. I had to cut it down a little bit, it was a little too long. and the oil drain's in. Oh, I gotta tighten the oil drain. Don't let me forget. Don't let me forget to tighten the oil drain. But other than that, we're pretty well good to go. We'll feed, and I spent the money on like vibrant fittings and all that good stuff. So it should not leak. So we're gonna go ahead and get this in here, and then I'm gonna measure out the hose, how long I need it. Oh, that hurt. I'm gonna go ahead and thread this on the turbo, and then thread this on the oil filter housing, and then get a good idea how long I need everything to be, and then we should be able to build hose and get her going. And then I got to get a drag link. The end link on the actual drag link where it goes in the pitman arm is super loose, so driving it's like an old 80s Ford. It's pretty bad. Okay. This will come off the oil filter housing, and this will go into the turbo. I'm just going to do a little loop-de-loop right here, and it should work like a dream. So we'll go from here, and then we'll just loop back through here. We'll drop the hose and then have to pull it all the way through. I meant to do that. That was part of my plan. All right. So this will go in here. This will loop up to here. And then I'll figure out a filter setup for this because I don't want to run it open. Yeah, so about right there will work. So we'll go ahead and get this cut, and then we'll be good to go. I'll probably just use a cutoff wheel to cut it, be the easiest way. And then we can build this line. This isn't the most ideal way to cut AN line. You're supposed to have one of the little cross jaw cutters. I don't know what they're called, but the fingers cross over each other, and that way you don't pinch it and make it flat. But I've been cutting it with a grinder for several years, and I don't really have any problems, so it is what it is. Okay. So that's cut. Now we can go ahead and get our little threaded piece on there for our AN line. I'll set that in there all the way. We'll thread this on, get this onto the hose. And we'll clamp this in the vise. Like this. Get this thing threaded. A bit of a pain to get these started sometimes, but once they're going, they're going. And I got this fancy AN aluminum crescent wrench, or adjustable wrench, whatever you want to call it. So go ahead and get this snug down. That side is done. Tap this thing on down. Alright, right about there. Should work. And just like that, we have ourselves an AN line with little swivel fittings. So that's going to be great for going around the turbo, and then I can still turn these and adjust them where I need them. Sweet. See if I built this somewhat correctly to the right length. Okay, nothing's on there. That one's on there. If I do believe it's gonna work. Okay. So now we have to tighten the oil drain on the bottom of the turbo. I think I can do it from below, maybe? It's gonna suck to get to, but I think I can get it from below. Alright, that one's tight. That's done. Now I have to zip tie all this stuff up for like factory intake air temp and all that stuff that we don't have on this truck anymore. So I'll get that all zip tied out of the way so it's nice and clean and tucked away. I still have to get my oil pressure gauge actually on the pillar because I got a 3-pillar pod for the A-pillar. So I'll get that done. I'll probably just use some screen door mesh over this like I've done in the past. It works fine. And then we'll get a big hose clamp and put over there. We should be good. Okay. I think these are, I hope these are standard 1/2 inch. We'll know soon. Ah. Yeah, we'll be putting new terminal ends on this pretty soon. I hate these tight anymore. Interesting. All right, well, the truck has 2 batteries in it, okay? Don't judge me. Go ahead and check the oil. Pretty sure it's still got coolant in it. Probably have to top it off, but all right. Oh, yep, it's pretty well full. Okay, sweet. This thing's gonna shake like crazy, so go ahead and put this over here. All right, see what happens. Oh, oil. Need to check the oil. Yup, got oil in it. Oh no. Almost put the handle in where it was upside down. Can't do that. Key ain't even in it.
I was gonna say, he's inside.
Key's in the house. I'll go get it. The Dodge, every time I touch it, something else seems to go wrong. It's really frustrating me. It's commanding too much rail pressure. The map sensor does have a code, so I assume that that's probably the culprit. All this crap here, all this powdery stuff, is a mixture of baking soda and the battery just blowing the cap off and blowing battery acid everywhere. And that was a problem with a connection issue I had right here. And this wire, the charging wire, was getting too hot. And yeah, but if you look in the turbo, there's oil, because this line for my mechanical oil pressure gauge I put up there just so I could see the oil pressure, because my oil pressure sensor on the block is bad and the gauge just falls to 0. This blew out and was blowing oil into my turbo. And any of you guys that know diesels know how dangerous that is. These things will run on oil and run away, and the only way to stop them is to choke off the turbo. I've seen people throw t-shirts and stuff in them and they just keep running. So diesel runaways are very scary. If you don't believe me, look it up on YouTube, diesel runaway. Things get pretty western, but I'm hoping to get this thing figured out. I mean, it starts. I'm not gonna start it right now because the oil leak, but it starts up. I got my scanner. My friend Houston let me borrow his scanner so I could diagnose the rail pressure and everything. So big thanks to him. That was awesome. And yeah, it's just one thing after another on this thing, but I'm determined. If it still had payments on it, it might be at the bottom of the Arkansas River right now, but it's paid for, it's mine, I own it. So we're gonna figure it out. Come hell or high water, we're gonna figure this thing out. Yeah, in the boat, we're going to be started on the boat. We went and bought another kayak that's on top of the Jeep, and then I have 2 more in the backyard. So I'm excited. There's a lot going on. If you guys, I'll go ahead and throw it on the screen. Me and the girlfriend decided that we've been doing a lot of fishing lately, and we're going to be doing a lot of kayaking, and she wants to get into bow fishing, so we're going to set the boat up and get that going. So we started a channel for just outdoor stuff. It's just my last name, Limbacher Outdoors. I'll put it down below here. But yeah, go check that out. I think we have 2 subscribers, so we're not doing anything crazy yet, but pretty soon we're gonna start uploading. So blue car, boat, Dodge, Jeep seems to be running okay. I mean, it pulled the Rambler all the way to the shop, which is about a 40-minute drive from my house, and then it got the blue car back home. So far so good. So we'll be back. Just stay tuned. I'm gonna keep doing shorts, but I'm gonna try to get long format videos up too. So we'll be back.